go. It always, every time.
This is a giant TV.
Yeah. Let's see. How should it? This is a number of ways to do this. You can do this view. Nice camera. Yeah, it's a 4K camera. Pretty sharp. More than what this TV can display. I'll do it anyway. So we can do. You can either do this or you can do speaker view. So 4K camera. You have gallery view and speaker view. This is gallery view. You see everybody. Now speaker view, it's supposed to detect who's speaking and put the speaker up on the main view. And sometimes it works. Oh, you mean for the different participants? I didn't mean in the room. Yeah, no, it actually does do that.
It does do that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not. It's pretty. It's not perfect, but no, but it's not. It's not bad. It's hard for here because like you have, I'm speaking in this distance. And you have people with headphones, it's like snaps right to it. So, that's pretty much it. You know, Zoom from here, it's already recording. So like I was saying, I just want to show you real quick. And this is where, when you end the meeting and you put out a Zoom, it'll be like, hey, we're going to convert this file that you've recorded. And it's essentially going to go, should go into Documents, Zoom.
Okay.
And there's going to be
several files.
It'll be a date. Okay. Oh, that must be.
It'll be in that folder.
Yeah, and you can just like.
Okay, I will grab that and I will move it before I turn this computer off.
Perfect.
Now. Yes. Great. Thank you.
There we go. All right. Well, have fun. Thanks.
Thanks, Dan.
No problem.
Okay. So. You didn't make any changes since I talked to you, right?
Thanks.
Billy, do you want to shut the door?
Oh, sorry. I could close the door and I didn't. Different stuff.
I was wondering what you were about to do there. You only have those.
Because I hate all the big ones.
Okay. Great. Open. Are we called into the phone? So is the sound working?
I don't know.
It should be. Anyone else who can?
It says there's 3 participants.
I heard it say welcome to Zoom.
Okay. Anne-Marie, can you hear us? She is on mute.
All right. Are you the?
Yes.
Are you the host?
I am host. Yes. Which I'm not used to having all the host controls, but.
Oh, do you usually turn it over to someone else?
No, I usually just join the screen. So, but I don't know if can any of you guys hear us? Okay.
If you want, I could log in. As long as we don't get some sort of feedback.
So when you go over the other ones, because sometimes as a host you can mute other people. Do you want to make sure they're not muted?
All right. They're not muted, but I don't think we have. You called in. Did Dan call in?
Yeah, it did say welcome to Zoom.
All right. Do you have the link I had?
Yeah, should be an email from me yesterday. Okay, well. I want to go see if I can find Dan.
Well, okay.
What are you gonna do, Billy?
I was gonna find the link and log in myself.
Hey,
Here it is.
did you call into the phone? And I can't get any of the sound to work.
Called into the phone. They were muted.
Yep.
Hello?
Hi.
Hey there.
Hi, this is Meredith. I can hear you guys.
Hi, Meredith. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, I just,
Yeah, in the feedback. Like the Zoom. If you mute your mic and speaker, you'll be okay. It's fine. Okay.
Okay, so they can hear us and we can hear them now.
Was working.
Thank you, Stan.
Great.
Hi, Meredith.
Hi, I'm moving. We have a busy building, so I'm waiting in the hallway before I can go to the next room. So you'll see me moving around in a few minutes.
That's fine. Do you feel comfortable with sharing your screen and all of that?
Yep, we use Zoom all the time, so I should be fine.
Great. I wanted to check in with Anne-Marie because she had never used Zoom before. Anne-Marie, can you hear us? And then who is ATM? So Anne-Marie, I see you logged on, but we can't hear you. You might want to call in on your phone, even though you're logged in with the computer. Or if you go down next to the phone, the mute in the bottom left hand of your screen, you can pull up audio connections and either have phone call directions or test your computer audio. Ours is disconnected, but because we're using the phone to call in. You can also use the chat box if you're having trouble. We can help you get set up before it starts. Timer on 5 minutes.
Make sure to crunch when you're talking. You don't want really crunchy ones.
Do you want to do this part?
Okay.
Hello.
Hello. Who is this?
Hi, this is Anne-Marie from the Maritime Aquarium. I'm calling in.
Hi, Anne-Marie. That's great. We can hear you well. Do you want to practice sharing your screen?
Thank you.
I practiced doing that yesterday.
Okay, great. Great. Yeah, so if you just go down to the green, share your screen, and then when you're done, it'll stop.
Your work is done.
Can you guys hear me?
Hi, Val. Yes.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great.
Okay, we have Heather here with us. Is Sean on? Do you think I should have these already set up in Yeah. Yeah, I'm set up already. So, there we go. And now how do I get out of here? You know how to do that? I can't.
Gotta share the screen. I think you go. Oh.
But so I have to share the screen first and then go.
I think you share the screen first.
Okay.
You're basically sharing that window,
Yeah.
and then you can make it. How it goes.
Yeah. I usually prefer to share my desktop. I find that's easier.
Yeah.
And then I can just go back and forth to the
Right,
different
right.
presentations.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I always do shared desktop because I've had a problem with share screen when I am clicking on live links or trying to go back and forth because then, yeah, you have to exit back out and then go back to share. Yeah.
So I haven't done this before. Is there, I see the share screen button, but is there a different button for share desktop?
No, so Val, you'll go to share screen and then can you see it pop up on my display? And then so you can either choose your desktop, which is the one it defaults to, or you can choose like the individual PowerPoint. We were just saying we usually have more luck just choosing the desktop.
Okay, thanks.
I'm going to share my desktop right now, and then I'll go in and just share the slides. There. Oh, great. So Sean, I see you've joined the call. Do you need to, would you like to practice sharing your slides? Sean, can you unmute yourself for a moment and just check in, make sure we have all your volume working?
Yes. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you.
Perfect. Do you want the cameras on? I don't know what's easier for you for bandwidth and everything.
If you want to put your camera on, that will be fine. And then I will have you mute yourself when you're not talking.
Okay, sounds good.
Are you feeling comfortable with the screen share?
Yeah, I think so. It looks pretty straightforward, so we should be all set.
Okay.
Yes.
Great. Thanks. Okay, and we'll start in just a moment, everyone.
One thing I've done before on a panel is like the person who's speaking has their video and everything else turned off just for bandwidth.
Oh, okay. Do you think we should do that?
It's something we could do or just have as an option.
Okay.
You can just, if it seems like it's a problem.
Okay.
If it's not a problem, it's not a problem.
I don't know whether I counted that. We didn't have a problem with bandwidth last time and everybody had their videos on, but we only had about 10 people maybe.
Yeah,
max.
I was on one.
So.
I was on this NAAA panel one. 50 or something, 60 people.
Yeah.
So I don't know, and I don't know where the problem was. I just don't know.
Okay.
Cloud.
All right.
It was good.
Yeah. I'm just gonna watch it and then watch it.
I think it's.
Hi everyone, I want to welcome you to our NEOSEC Cafe. It's 1 o'clock, so we're going to go ahead and start. I don't know that we'll have any bandwidth issues, so you can turn your videos on if you want. I'm going to request that the speakers, while they're speaking, go ahead and turn their video on. And if anyone has any bandwidth issues, you can mention it in the chat box, and I'll have people turn off their video so that we can get through this. So let's get started. Welcome, everyone. This is our NEOSEC Cafe, and we have been wanting to do these to just get our members together, get us talking, find ways that we can collaborate better, work together on projects, share our information, and all of that. So today's topic is using ocean science and exploration in engaging youth, and we've got a great lineup of speakers. So I do not know how to go to the next slide. The only problem with this.
Try the right arrow.
Is not.
Or like space bar, enter.
Nope. Okay. So sorry, everyone. I'm going to stop share. I'm going to try that again.
There you go.
There you go.
Oh, okay. So our speakers today are Val Perini from Northeastern University Marine Science Center. Val, do you want to say hi right now? As I call out your name, you can just chime up and say hi.
Hello.
Meredith Sullivan from Gulf of Maine Research Institute.
Hello.
Anne-Marie Lisi from Maritime Aquarium of Norwalk.
Hello.
John Russell of Youth Ocean Conservation Summit.
How are you doing?
And Heather Deschaines from the New England Aquarium. Hello. So all of our speakers are going to have 5 minutes to speak today. And we'll hear from each of them, and then we'll all join the discussion ourselves to discuss what are the criteria you need for better youth science education, and how can we leverage all the great programs that are going on right now within NEOSEC and by our NEOSEC institutions. So thank you so much for being here today. If you have any questions, you can use the chat or wait until we get to the discussion time. I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and Val, you're welcome to go ahead and share your screen.
Okay.
Val is going to talk to us on partnerships today.
Yes, so thanks, Amy, and thanks everyone for being here. I was really excited when Amy asked me to talk about partnerships, and so I'm going to tell you basically about some of the partnerships I've gotten to work with here at the Marine Science Center with the outreach program, and kind of some take-home messages that I've learned from working with these partnerships. So I'm just going to start with one of our kind of most collaborative projects, which is our Beach Sisters program. And this is a multi-partner project. We have the support of AmeriCorps for the project. So we've worked with Commonwealth Corps members, as well as we've been granted a Massachusetts Promise Fellow for the past 7 years, who facilitates the program. And also our partner is Girls Inc. of Lynn, who runs after-school programming for girls in Lynn. And this has been a really great fit, this partnership, because Girls Inc. kind of, has the youth there. They have this captive audience of, at-risk girls, and they are also really interested in, STEM programming and bringing STEM programming to their center. And so partnering with us has allowed them to do that. And so we have the fellow who mentors these 6 teen peer leaders, and then those teen peer leaders deliver marine and environmental science programming to younger girls at Girls Inc. And this has been a really awesome partnership. We've, even embarked upon things like joint fundraising to raise funds. And the partnership has really become kind of more, I'd say, like equal as it's progressed. Like maybe at first the Marine Science Center was pulling a lot of the weight in the partnership, but now as it's evolved, Girls Inc. has kind of stepped up as well. And something that's been cool is this partnership has kind of created like a culture of other partnerships. So like additional partnerships come about via this partnership. So we participated in the NEOSEC Summer Science Citizen Science Project. We, bring in scientists from the Marine Science Center, and then we also partner with local community groups to get the girls volunteering at places like the Food Project and My Brother's Table. And so it's just the partnerships kind of keep coming up out of this great partnership. Another great partnership we have is with the Lynn Public Schools, and we kind of have two projects with them. One is this grant-funded project called School to Sea, which is we bring middle schoolers out into coastal habitats for field experiences. And this has been funded since 2012. And like Beach Sisters, it kind of keeps increasing in terms of the collaborative nature and in terms of the number of youth we can serve with this project. So last year we saw over 1,000 middle schoolers and brought them for field experiences. And I'd say for this particular partnership, district support is really key. So we've had the support of the science curriculum director at Lynn Public Schools, and they've been really useful in terms of helping us with logistics, participating in joint fundraising, and also kind of leveraging the support of the key players like teachers and principals and stuff like that. And then this district level support and, kind of having someone on our side in the administrative side of the district opens doors for other projects. And one of those is this project with the Friends of Lynn and Nahant Beach. And this is a local community group that has funded marine science education in Lynn now with us for a couple years. And it started very small. They donated maybe $1,000 for a few touch tank programs, and then the funding has increased each year. And so last year they donated over $5,000, and they supported students to go to the High School Marine Science Symposium in COSA. And we've found that really showcasing the outcomes of the project is really key. So, we send them reports on the use of the funding. We invite them to come to the events and programs to really showcase the great work that their funds are being used to create. Another example that we've been able to leverage partnerships is for our summer program, the Coastal Ocean Science Academy. It's a 2-week summer program for high schoolers, and we have an intro cohort. It's their first time, doing the program, and they just do kind of basic field studies. But then we have an advanced cohort of students who are returning for their second or third time. And so what we've done is partnered with a Marine Science Center research group to delve into a topic a lot deeper. So the students get to use, more high-tech equipment. They get to actually conduct manipulative experiments. So it's a much deeper, more meaningful research experience. And one example has been that one lab group here, the Helmuth Lab, has worked with both COSA and the Beach Sisters to create these Gigapan virtual tours that I think some of you guys are familiar with. And so the students visit the habitat and then kind of showcase what they've learned there by creating these virtual tours. And they're working directly with the scientists and with this technology, which is really cool. The high school.
So if you can wrap up. Okay.
Oh yeah, sorry. So the High School Marine Science Symposium is another collaborative project with the Mass Marine Educators, and I'll just skip over that, but it's been a great collaboration. And then also we just have a lot of opportunity to partner with scientists. And so my take-home messages are just that partnerships are really powerful, but they also require some care and feeding. And that even a small one-time interaction can develop into a more lasting, impactful partnership. And then also, even if you don't have scientists working at your organization, you can certainly still partner with them. And so don't be afraid to reach out and kind of find some scientists to partner with. So thank you.
Thank you, Val.
Okay.
So next we'll hear from
Stop share. There we go.
Great. Thank you. We can come back to that last slide of take-home messages back in our discussion too.
Okay, thanks.
Next, we'll hear from Meredith Sullivan from the Gulf of Maine Research Institute. She's going to talk on youth citizen science and engaging youth with technology.
All right. Let me share my screen. Okay, so I'm just going to go briefly over two of our two education programs that we have here at GMRI. They're engaging middle school students from all over the state of Maine. So kind of our big goal here is to build Maine students' critical thinking skills around the nature of science. So we do that in allowing them to participate in authentic science experiences that focus on climate literacy and data literacy. So the two programs are Lab Venture and Vital Signs. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about each of those programs, giving you an idea of what students are doing in our education programs. So we're working directly with the students in some of these programs, and as well as doing a lot of teacher professional development, working directly with the teachers who are working with the students. So first, our Lab Venture program sees about 10,000 students a year from all over the state of Maine. So each one of these blue dots represents a school that has come to the Lab Venture program, and in many cases, multiple times. And so the group of about 40 to 50 kids get to come on this big fancy bus to come to our working lab. So the things that's really cool about our lab is it's really hands-on for the students. They work in small groups around the room at these pods that you can see on the screen. And the adults are really hands-off. We really let the students go through these guided experiences on their own. And they're a mix of technology and looking at live animals. For example, at this station, they're looking at live plankton that we scooped out of Portland Harbor just before they arrived. And they're looking at what's living in the plankton and what's not living in the plankton. And then they're looking at some prepared species to look at the food web and how that food web might be affected as our waters are warming here in the Gulf of Maine. They also get to play some digital games. So this is a screenshot of one of the stations where students go on a virtual fishing trip. And their goal here is to make as much money as they can. But as they start to play the game, they realize that making modifications to their gear actually allows them to make more environmentally friendly decisions, as well as make more money. So by doing things like changing the size of the hole in your net, you're actually catching less bycatch and therefore making more money because you're getting more profitable fish. Again, I want to show this picture to show a mix of students are using both technology and tools of science and live specimens. So here they're actually handling live lobsters and going through a mini experiment that our scientists are doing to think about how lobster traps are affecting lobster populations. And again, this is another example of looking at, they're playing a game where they're juvenile lobsters trying to survive in times when there's lots of cod versus times when there's not a lot of cod. And they're also looking at our live lobsters in the tank at the same time. These are about 15-minute guided experiences that they go through. So they go through all four of those, and while they're going through those, they're collecting digital artifacts. So when we say digital artifacts, they're photographs of the lobsters or the plankton. They're videos of their conclusions or their hypothesis that they make throughout their time here, their 2.5 hours. And we wrap it up by leading a discussion with the students where we talk about what they learned, but we're showing the photos and the videos that they took up on the big screens on our AV system. So they were really talking about what they learned today and what they learned, not necessarily what all groups learned. So that's our Lab Venture program. Second is our Citizen Science program. So it's called Vital Signs. Again, it's open to students all over the state of Maine. We're looking for marine, it's focused on marine and watershed. So it's looking for animals in all different habitats across Maine, and we're starting to move into New Hampshire as well. So Vital Signs is a community of practice where teachers are leading their students through citizen science activities. You can actually, anyone can join Vital Signs, but we do focus mostly on the middle school students here in the state of Maine. So since 2009, our focus has been invasive and native species, and like I said, in upland, freshwater, and coastal systems. So we're asking students, where are invasive species in Maine, where are they not, and where are native species in Maine being impacted by these? This is a pretty important question for scientists, but there's not a lot of scientists who have the time to go out in the field looking for these species. So it's a great opportunity for students to be able to look for species right in their own backyard. So I'm going to show you a map of Maine. This shows each one of these purple dots is a number of observations made in that area. So this dot that says 112 is actually 112 observations have been made by students in this area. So we actually see students from all over the state of Maine. Those who are not familiar with Maine, there's not very many people living kind of in this hole, which is why we don't have any observations there. So students are able to enter their data right on the website, and one of the coolest things about that, this is one example of a student observation right here, is that students are posting their evidence. They're asked to show photos and written descriptions supporting whether they found or did not find a species. And the cool thing is they get feedback pretty quickly. So when they submit something, if it's a species of interest, there's a scientist who is a scientist or a species expert who is assigned to each one of these species. So they'll get information. The species expert will get an email from the system saying, hey, we've got a new observation. And most of the time they go right on and will respond to the students. So rock snot is an example of one species that students thought they found up in Dedham, Maine, which is sort of near Bar Harbor. And the scientist who was assigned to this was actually a DEP employee. As soon as they saw that email, they responded to students directly. Students got to communicate back and forth. Luckily, they found out that this was not the invasive rock snot. In fact, it was a close relative of that. But if it had been, it would have been the first sighting of that in our area here in Maine. So it's pretty exciting that kids get instant feedback. If you go onto our website, you can actually watch a video that students posted about that project.
Meredith, I'm going to have to stop you there.
That's okay. That was the end of it.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for going over those programs. That was great.
Yeah. And
then next we'll hear from Anne-Marie Lisi from Maritime Aquarium of Norwalk on their Teen Apprentice Summer Camp program.
Sure. Okay, so I'm just going to share my screen. Can everybody see it?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, great. So we run a lot of different programs and partnerships here at the aquarium. So today I'm just going to, in 5 minutes, just focus on our Teen Apprentice program. It's specifically for ages 13 to 15. It's a 3-week summer camp experience. With us, we limit it to 12 students so that we can get very in-depth and hands-on and have a lot of one-on-one time with the students. So these are just kind of some group photos to begin. So there's different aspects that we do during the program. So one of the main components is working side by side our education staff and our animal husbandry staff to learn about the proper diets and care for many of our animals here at the aquarium. So the students do go through knife safety courses, chemical safety, learning about diet prep, weighing out all the record keeping that goes into feeding our animals. And so every morning they would break up into small groups, and some of them would work with the education staff and the animal ambassadors. You can see them feeding some of our horseshoe crabs on the top of the tank here. And then they would also get to go inside of the meerkat exhibit and rearrange it and kind of flatten out all the tunnels for the day so that the meerkats had kind of fresh sand to go and do their digging for the day. They also got opportunities to feed our stingrays in the morning, as well as this is prepping food for some of our larger tortoises. And then a big part of it was looking at animal enrichment. What is enrichment? How is it beneficial to animals? Type of enrichment, and just the very thoughtful process that we go through to plan our enrichment, make it, and then assess it. So that was kind of our morning routines. And then we did a lot of research and conservation as well. We took the students on board our hybrid electric research vessel. We did plankton tows, which is the students here, it's not the students are, we did a plankton tow, we did a dredge, so this is the students picking through the dredge sample, and then we did an otter trawl, which this is the students helping to pull in the trawl. So everything that we saw in there, we recorded down on our data sheets, quantity sizes, and then it all went into our biodiversity research database at the aquarium. We also went to the beach numerous times, and we had the students seining, going through the seine, picking out what they found. We did collecting for the aquarium, so we brought specimens back. And we also had the students design, set up, and maintain their own aquariums throughout the 3 weeks. And they had to grow food for their aquariums, monitor the water chemistry, feed their animals, do water changes. So just a larger scale of animal husbandry, but on a smaller level in the classroom. So they had to take full responsibility for the care of these animals. And then we did bring in some technology, so the students did get to go up into the kind of captain's area of our research vessel, learning about navigation tools and the hybrid electric technology that goes into operating our boat. We also have an ROV, and that the students get to practice driving and using, and you can see it here, it's in our seal pool, which is also another great form of enrichment for our animals. And then we did do some shark dissection, some other work as well to learn about conservation efforts with animals, and get just kind of have that deeper level dissection experience. And then there's this big culminating project at the end, which is an exhibit design project. So we took our students to a local zoo to meet with their team and look at exhibit design from multiple perspectives. From the animal's perspective, thinking about space, heating, lighting. From the animal husbandry perspective, about easy access to the animal, behind the scenes storage areas, being able to get the animal in and off our exhibit. And then the third, from the guest perspective, where are the viewing windows? Is it easy to see the animal? Is the signage appropriate? Is it aesthetically pleasing? So with all of those things in mind, they had to work in groups to create a 3D model of an exhibit, taking all of those things into consideration. So they had to do research and talk to our aquarists about the needs of the animals, create food budgets for it, think about, how they're going to keep the water hot or cold or do water changes. And they then presented these 3D models in a final presentation. And then this past summer, we brought in some aspects of animal training, thinking about how important it is to train animals on behaviors and just all the time and work that goes into it. So our teens actually trained our betta fish to target to a pole and then to swim through a hoop, through working with the animals every single day. So just that's it, just a kind of a little snippet of all the wonderful things that we do in 3 weeks.
Great, thank you, Anne-Marie. That was right at 5 minutes, so perfect. Next, we will hear from Sean Russell, who runs the Youth Ocean Conservation Summit.
All right.
Perfect. Can you all hear me okay?
Sharon.
All right. Can you all see that okay? Okay, perfect. All right, well, thank you so much for taking the time and allowing me to jump on and join today. I'm excited to share a little bit more about the Youth Ocean Conservation Summit program. This is a program that I started back in 2011, and it really built on work that I did in high school and college growing up, and some of the similar programs to what you all are talking about so far today, working with students on fishing line recycling and marine debris prevention projects, and really seeing over several years how enthusiastic young people were about plugging into solutions and getting involved and taking action around those particular issues really drove me to want to create an opportunity where we could train young people how to launch their own ocean conservation projects and equip them with the basic skills and tools and resources to take on critical marine conservation issues in their local communities and really a diversity of issues through those projects. And so we started the first Youth Ocean Conservation Summit back in 2011 with Mote Marine Laboratory, our key host partner. Each year, this program now brings together about 200 youth and adults from across the country And kind of the basic format of this one-day event is our student participants have the chance to come in and hear from keynote speakers, as you can see in these pictures, from scientists, educators, conservationists, and explorers who really set the tone and set the stage for the day, highlighting current marine conservation issues and solutions, and really getting students thinking about the diversity of issues they could take on with a conservation project in their local community. This is then followed up by student presentations, having young people, often our Summit alumni, come in and share the work they're already doing, and really showcasing to their peers, here's how young people can really take on these big picture marine conservation challenges and really work towards some tangible solutions to the issues that they're seeing in their local marine environment. This is then followed up by kind of a critical component of the program is our conservation project action planning session. And this kind of standardized workshop is something we've developed over the years to allow the students to come in and sit down with their peers and with mentors from local conservation organizations to go through that process of identifying an issue they want to address with their conservation project, coming up with a solution that really forms the basis of that project, and then outlining basic goals and action steps they need to carry out back in their local community to successfully execute that action plan. And for me, launching this event, we really wanted to ensure that we didn't just leave students at that stage and kind of send them on their way with the action plan and that piece of paper, but really equip them with the tools and the resources to kind of bring those action steps to life and really ensure they have the knowledge they need to take those steps back in their communities. So the remainder of this day-long event is really dedicated to skill-building workshops, a variety of sessions designed, again, to give students those skills they need to successfully act on their project plans. And these workshops range on topics from fundraising and marketing to using art, film, and media to communicate conservation messages, public speaking, working with government officials, citizen science, and also provide, again, the chance for our youth participants to really connect with some fantastic mentors from the field and really with a diverse set of skills they can learn for their project plans. This one-day Youth Ocean Conservation Summit program is extended throughout the year through what we call the Youth Ocean Conservation Team, which is really our year-round support network and kind of alumni network for our summit participants. So we work to connect the students through a monthly student edited and created e-newsletter that shares additional opportunities and resources with our alumni and also youth and adults from 6 continents who are passionate about ocean conservation. And in addition to just kind of sharing opportunities and highlighting the success stories of our alumni, this network also gives us a chance to offer mini grants to directly fund and support the diverse youth conservation projects emerging from this event. Starting in 2014, due to the strong interest in young people coming to our main event in Sarasota, Florida from different places across the country, we started piloting the process of launching the first satellite Youth Ocean Conservation Summits, which allow us to bring the same model program to communities across the country. And in each of these cases, teams of young people are really the core planning team behind these events. So it's youth-driven at its core. These young people are able to use our basic model and format and resources, but really customize the programming to fit their local marine and aquatic ecosystems. And each of these events is hosted in partnership with a variety of conservation-focused institutions. So universities and science centers, zoos and aquariums, conservation nonprofits who help team up with those students to bring these events to life. And you can see where they've been held so far across the country, many of these locations hosting multiple events on an annual basis. Just real quick, a little bit of the snapshot of the impact. There's been 6, as I said, Youth Ocean Conservation Summits at Moat Marine Laboratory coming up on our 7th this December, on December 9th. And again, these events have come to now 10 cities across the country. In that, we've seen over 1,600 participants, unique individuals coming through this program, and also, again, many of those young people participating multiple years, coming back year after year to continue to build on and expand their conservation projects. Again, one of the things that I'm personally really proud of, again, is that grant program, our ability to directly fund and support the projects coming out of this event planned out by these students. So we've given out over $16,000 at this point to fund diverse student-driven conservation projects across the country. These range from mangrove plantings and habitat restoration efforts in South Florida to endangered species research projects focused on sharks and manatees, to projects like installing the first refillable water bottle stations at local schools or lobbying successfully in the local parks department and a city to put recycling bins on their local beaches. So again, it's been exciting to see. Go ahead.
Sorry, that's 5 minutes, so please wrap up.
Sure, absolutely. Just last thing, again, we've seen a lot of great impact coming from these students with their volunteer hours and the number of people they've impacted in their communities. And for those of you who are interested in getting involved, we'd love to have you learn more about the students involved in the program on our website. And also, if it's something some of you are interested in hosting your own Youth Ocean Conservation Summit, we'd love to work with you to provide the resources to make that happen, and look forward to the continuing discussion.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yes, I'm sorry I have to cut everybody off at 5 minutes, but I want to make sure we have enough time for discussion. So our last speaker is Heather Deshane. She's here with me at New England Aquarium, and she's going to talk to us on teens and stewardship. So I'm going to share her slides.
So to talk about stewardship, I thought it'd be helpful to just see a diagram highlighting what we see as the 5 domains of stewardship here at the aquarium. It's important to note they're not necessarily cyclical or linear, but within these 5 domains, we think a social context, so involvement, being rooted around a social context is really important, especially when it comes to engaging teens, because we really want to nurture their ability to become change agents, and that very much is aligned with fostering ocean stewardship. So the domains: inspiration, information, empowerment, activity, meaning putting teens' talents to work, mobilization and leadership, enabling the teens to influence and involve others, are sort of core to 2 programs that I'll be talking about in just a second. But we have learned here that participation in a social context for teens is really critical for their success, enabling them to develop relationships within our programs, and build strong bonds. Really fosters a sense of community, not only within the programs, but the teens see it as a way to sort of take those skills and carry them elsewhere. So that's why we put such an emphasis on social context. So the first of the 2 programs is the Live Blue Ambassador program, which provides opportunities for youth ages 14 to 18 to participate in field-based conservation activities where they take part in direct actions to improve coastal habitats and systems. Essentially, we're giving them opportunities to practice firsthand what it takes to maintain and restore healthy ecosystems. These young people work together on weekends or during school vacations. They work essentially outdoors in all manner of weather, even here in New England in the dead of winter, to help restore coastal habitat areas. And they work on a variety of projects ranging from field conservation, habitat restoration, removal of invasives, to citizen science monitoring in our region. Field work is core to the Live Blue Ambassador program. So what we try to do around the field work that the teens are doing is create opportunities for them to, what we do is we facilitate practical experiences that foster habits of good citizenship for the teens, habits of field conservation, so the teens become accustomed to building time into their schedules to take part in field conservation, and then again supporting the social systems that enable teens to take part. We do a lot to encourage the participants in this program to connect with one another, particularly where you have participants that share an interest. We want them to continue to connect even outside the program, and again, that highlights the importance of the social context. We create opportunities for the students to connect with experts who orient them to why the work is important and why taking this initial first step is so valuable. And this program has also enabled the aquarium to build a lot of valuable partnerships, institutional collaborations throughout New England, particularly with the National Park Service, our local Department of Conservation and Recreation, the state parks agency here in Massachusetts, and a number of local watershed organizations. So you have facilitating practice, you have youth connecting, and then the youth are engaging others in that work. They're practicing their communication skills, they're inviting friends to join them in these field events. And so what that's doing is it's just creating a nice sort of loop where, they extend invitations to their friends come, they enjoy the experience, and more teens go. So right now we're maxed out with about over 1,500 kids annually that want to get involved. And currently we're only able to accommodate about 200 young people a year in the program. So there's lots of opportunity for growth within the Live Blue Ambassador program. The next program, which is our youth leadership program, is called Climate Teens. And this is a group of 15 to 18-year-olds who come together twice a month in the evenings to learn about climate change issues and talk about ways that they can become involved in helping to encourage their peers to take part in solutions practice. So Climate Teens works to prepare and empower teens to take part in leadership roles that convene citizens and engage in dialogue that points toward ways that everyone can take action to address the issue of climate change. Sorry. So this is just a picture of some of our young people. Actually, this is an event we did a couple of years ago. This is Massachusetts Senator Edward Markey. But core to what we do in Climate Teens is to increase their knowledge and understanding of the issue. We do that through teaching them climate science, and we also teach them communication science. Particularly, we teach all of these teens how to communicate using strategic framing. The teens then develop their practical skills for facilitating group dialogue, for presenting and organizing. The teens throughout the program are able to develop social support, so they support one another. They also gain support from their mentors, and we encourage teens to reach out into the community and find other adult systems of support to help them. And all of this leads to increased confidence, which ultimately makes the teens feel more empowered to take part in greater civic involvement. So those are our two programs.
Another slide. That's it. Okay, thank you, Heather. Now we get to move on to our discussion time. So I'm going to let you guys can unmute yourself if there's no feedback. If you are noticing some outside noise hindering the discussion, I'll ask you to mute yourself or self-regulate that. But thank you. So some of the things I wanted to look at during this discussion were the commonalities that we see between all of these programs. So did anyone notice any particular commonalities that these programs have?
I feel like a lot of them relied on partnerships. Like that was a word that I heard in every single one pretty much, and really kind of those collaborations and partnerships helping it out. I don't know.
I did. I noticed the partnerships too, with both inside the organizations and outside. I also noticed a lot of skill building as being really important, building different skills.
One of the things that stood out to me, we didn't all use the same words, but it was all like real life things, you know, like using real tools and or talking about real issues.
Yeah, I was going to say youth leadership, I think, was kind of woven throughout, you know, whether it's citizen science or environmental issues. The youth are all like playing an active role in, you know, environmental and marine science, which is awesome to see.
I would add to that too, you know, kind of building on the youth leadership piece, also youth adult partnerships. So having the opportunity for young people to really take the lead in building those platforms for them to, you know, act on their ideas and their vision, but also having that supportive environment, you know, staffed by the adult mentors and the institutions kind of backing them up, I think has been really critical for all these groups.
Does anyone else that was not a speaker have any insights?
I'm going to jump in again. And I will say another thing that I noticed with this is a lot of it also is looking and empowering teens to get involved in their community. So I think it was even mentioned, you know, they're not talking about saving the rainforest or, you know, like a lot of it, they're looking at their immediate community and surroundings and getting involved in some way.
So if we look at all these commonalities and think about what are the critical elements for success in youth programs, and then that kind of brings the question too, is what is successful youth development program?
This is Holly. Can I add one more thing that didn't get said now that you've posed that question, Amy? Of course. It seems like everybody had, this is an obvious one, but I'm just going to state the obvious, that there was a hands-on or field component when it came to the youth programs. And I mean, even just from looking at pictures without you guys talking about the individual programs, you could see it. And I know from when you're looking at a success side of things, I know at least from the programs we've run here through the Inner Space Center, that is a big thing, is getting kids actually physically out in the field. And I loved how Meredith said that they were doing the same type of experiments that the scientists are doing at the center and stuff like that, or that they're mimicking that type of real-time science. And it was similar, we've done, I think that's something that runs through all the programs too, is it keeps it relevant to them, and it's real. And that hands-on aspect and getting them out there, I think, is so critical, because otherwise it's very abstract. It doesn't have as much of an impact. With kids, I mean, I think it's with anybody, to be quite frank, but that's my 2 cents.
I agree, and I heard Meredith say they use authentic experiences, and I think mimicking the science that actual scientists are doing in the region really does make it authentic. So, getting back to the question, what is success in a program? How do we define that?
Something we've been trying to do is track our participants, after they graduate high school, and see what they end up doing later on, which is, challenging to keep in touch with them. But that's kind of a way we've been trying to track success, is, seeing our programs having an impact, because, then they're going into STEM or marine science fields.
Val, you just took the words right out of my mouth. At least from what I understand, at least from an NSF side of things, that's one of the things they're looking for, is retention in STEM areas or focuses or careers, or just going into college. That's a big deal, is either kids elect after your program that they actually physically say, this helped change my mind, or made my decision, or strengthened my decision, or, that after that they continue on with a STEM career. So, yep, I agree completely.
I think also Heather talked about one of the programs has more students who are interested in the program than they are able to serve. So kind of if a student or a teen is telling another teen that they should do something, I call that a success.
This is Billy from the New England Aquarium. I would just say, I think the most important thing is you need to have some goals that are meaningful to you and your institution, and that if you're asking someone to fund it, some goals that they care about. And then you have to have some kind of theory about how you're going to meet those goals, and then some means to track whether you're doing it. So for some folks, STEM learning might be the focus. For some, it might be STEM careers. Heather talked a lot in our program about environmental stewardship. There's youth development goals around, helping, healthy adolescent development, or, resilience in youth. There's a lot of different potential goals, and, you might have a program that can meet multiple objectives, but I think it's usually most successful when you identify like a few key things that you think you can do really well and deliver on, and be accountable for. And then there's often unexpected outcomes that are great that you don't necessarily want to hold yourselves accountable for. So you might have a focus on, say STEM learning, and it turns out that lo and behold, you have some great examples of kids who've gone on to become, career scientists, but you don't necessarily want to hold yourself accountable to that. Or you might have another program that's very career oriented, and, you might find out that it motivated some kids to do better in school, but that's not something you necessarily hold yourself accountable for. And I feel like that's a challenge to kind of narrow down what you want to be accountable for, but I think at the end it's really helpful.
I would add too, from our experience with the success pieces, having at least with our youth issue conservation, that's one of the pieces that's come to mind for me, is having young people play a role in helping define what that success looks like, and bringing young people into the leadership, helping plan the program logistics itself. It's one of the things that's been really rewarding to see at these regional events across the country have all been driven by teams of young people. So they're there helping to build the program that empowers their peers. And so you know, it adds to that kind of meaningful nature of the experience when young people are really helping sit down and help all of us define what that success looks like for a program that's designed for them and their peers.
So I want to take some of our discussion and use it to how we can connect other NEOSEC members and how we can leverage the strengths we have in our youth programs to help those other institutions that may not have strong youth programs. And additionally, I did want to give Gretchen Carlson a few minutes to speak on a youth summit that's going to be planned for NMEA 2019. Gretchen, are you there?
Hi, it's Gretchen. We are just in the very, very beginning stages of planning 2019 NMEA conference, and we'll have a youth summit day. So we've talked a little bit with Sean. We will continue to talk with Sean about how to do that. It's exciting just because it's here, and it will be here, right here in Durham, New Hampshire, in July 2019.
Do you need any help, or are you looking for any input on how to shape the summit, or?
We have some local, marine docents and local people here who we are starting that process with locally, and then potentially would be reaching out after that, especially for, people who might be interested in speaking, and also participants in the conference itself. Probably not initially needing any more besides some of Sean's input. So.
Gretchen, I can just add to a big piece of that. We've done this for the past couple of years, adding youth conferences on as a day-long experience for the NMEA conference. And definitely the two big pieces of it has been support with promotion and recruitment of local participants as these conferences move around to different regions. Having the support of local institutions push that out has been huge. And then we also have a youth engagement committee within NMEA. So if anyone is an NMEA member and is interested in plugging into that and becoming more involved in the efforts to bring young people on board and give them a way to plug into the organization at an early age, feel free to let me know too. We can all kind of loop in on that.
Great.
Great, thank you. I think it's a great opportunity for us to use some of our great expertise here at NEOSEC and just getting the young people really just involved in all aspects of the conference at NMEA.
Yep.
Be great.
Great.
Okay. So then back to NEOSEC and how can we leverage all of these programs that we have to further our own youth education programs, or to create a set of best practices for youth programs that might help other new NEOSEC members? Are there any collaborative projects we want to work together on?
The first thing that comes to mind for me is, connecting these youth who are all doing great work, and showcasing, showing them that other youth are doing great work. And I know I've talked with Heather about this. We have these teens who are all kind of doing this different work. Like, how can we connect them? And I think it's empowering for them to see other teens doing similar work. And so I think that's an opportunity.
I think one thing to add is a lot of us mentioned partnerships and partners we work with, and I think Northeastern's partnership with Girls Inc. and the Beach Sisters program is really a nice one, because it's NEOSEC partners connecting with members of the community that may or may not have an ocean focus, but engaging them in that topic and subject area. And so I think there's a lot of opportunities to do that within Greater Boston with social and environmental justice groups and a lot of grassroots on the ground organizations that might be a little bit different from our own, but it's just a nice way to sort of broaden engagement for young people throughout the region that not everyone needs to have that specific ocean lens, but there's a lot of commonality in what you do and what you're trying to achieve. And so I think there's still a lot of opportunities to connect beyond, just your standard partners. I thought, Beach Sisters is a really nice example of that, but there certainly could be more that could be created.
I would add to that too, in addition to the comments I completely agree about, more to connect young people to allow them to share ideas and kind of collaborate. One of the things, as I mentioned, we try to do with our connecting them virtually. But in addition, I would say, how we can all look at as institutions and organizations telling the stories of the young people involved to a wider audience. I think one of the things that I feel like I've seen in my work is that the stories of young people doing really great marine science, marine education, or conservation initiatives kind of flies under the radar, all those stories on a broader scale, and kind of amplify that great work, not only to young people, but to just the general community and our communities as a whole.
Well, I really like the idea of connecting the youth in all the different programs. I think that would be really powerful. It's something we did with Summer on the Marsh during our youth summits for that project. One of the citizen science projects we did had these youth summits at the end that connected youth from all over the region and showed them the data that was collected also all over the region. Somehow being able to connect youth and show them what's being done around New England would be really powerful. I think it would be great to set up some sort of NEOSEC-based, really a working group, maybe a discussion group on youth, and some of these ideas and others could be fleshed out more. Is anybody interested? Would anybody be interested in that?
Yeah, that sounds interesting to me.
Agreed. Okay, well, we are coming close to 2 o'clock, so I want to make sure there's space if anybody has anything else to add, that they have time to add it. And otherwise, I just want to thank everyone for listening in and being part of our NEOSEC Cafe. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy, for organizing.
Absolutely. Thanks so much.
And thank you for organizing and allowing us to participate. I gotta head out. I got a 2 o'clock meeting.
All right. Welcome. Have a great day, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.